A man in Florida made a chilling discovery on Google Earth that ended up solving a 22-year-old mystery. Google Earth is an amazing tool, but it's not something you'd expect to use for cracking cold cases. Still, that's exactly what happened when one Florida man opened it up. While scanning satellite images, he noticed a strange shape in a body of water. Curious, he zoomed in, and what he saw gave him goosebumps. When police later pulled the object from the water, they uncovered a mystery that had remained unsolved for over 2 decades. The story began in August 2019 when a real estate professional was checking out his old neighborhood in Florida using Google Earth. Clicking around the area where he used to live, he focused on the space behind one of the homes. And that's when he spotted something strange. There, beneath the surface of a pond, was what looked like a car. At least that's what it seemed to be from the satellite view. The image was fuzzy, so he couldn't be sure just yet. Still curious, the man contacted his ex-wife, who apparently still lived at his former home. She talked to a neighbor who was able to confirm that there really was a vehicle submerged in the pond. But what they didn't know yet was that the truly shocking part was still waiting for them. Inside the car. As this Florida man would find out, you don't need to be an archaeologist or wear a fedora to make big discoveries these days. If Indiana Jones lived in modern times, he might just be sitting at a desk with a laptop. These days, with a simple internet connection, anyone can stumble upon something truly incredible. Just look at the number of strange and unexpected things people have come across using Google Earth. Back in 2005, for example, a team of researchers from London's Kew Royal Botanical Gardens found an undocumented mountain through Google Earth. Mount Mabu, hidden in Mozambique, rises 5,600 feet and is home to what may be southern Africa's largest medium-altitude rainforest. Yet, until that moment, scientists had no idea it even existed. The mountain had likely remained untouched by outsiders for as long as humans have lived nearby. It was hidden under the savanna, making it nearly invisible and naturally protected from outside changes. That's what caught the attention of conservation biologist Julian Bayliss. He had been using Google Earth to search for remote, biodiverse areas in Africa that hadn't yet been studied. In 2008, a group of 28 researchers, led by plant expert Jonathan Timberlake, made their way to Mount Mabu to explore the untouched area. In a press statement, Timberlake said, "The incredible variety of life here is just overwhelming. Even today, we still don't know all the key places for biodiversity. There are more waiting to be found." During the trip, the team collected over 500 plant samples and even made several new discoveries. These included a tropical mistletoe called Helixanthera schizocalyx, along with new species of snake, butterfly, and crab. And all of it might never have happened if Bayliss hadn't taken a closer look using Google Earth. But Bayliss wasn't the only one to make a major find thanks to Google Earth. In 2007, Professor Lee Berger from Witwatersrand University in Johannesburg began using satellite images to map 150 known caves and fossil sites. In the process, though, he stumbled across 500 more locations that hadn't been explored. Plus, a truly groundbreaking discovery. While scanning for clues, Professor Berger noticed a group of caves in South Africa's cradle of humankind that hadn't been checked out yet. That area is famous for its ancient human fossils, with around 40% of early human remains found there. And sure enough, inside one of the newly identified caves, they uncovered 2 partial skeletons. These weren't just old bones, they dated back 1.78 million years and were among the most complete hominid skeletons ever discovered. Berger believes the remains belong to a newly identified human ancestor called Australopithecus sediba. Scientists now think this species might be one of the closest links to modern humans. That's a huge leap forward in understanding our past. And it started with a simple internet search. Even when it isn't the main reason behind a discovery, Google Earth has still become a helpful tool for scientists. In 2009, for instance, a pilot flying over a riverbed in Wales noticed something unusual. When archaeologists checked it out using Google Earth, they were able to spot a long-forgotten structure. From the looks of it, the remains had been hidden for more than 1,000 years. The strange V-shaped rock formation the pilot noticed was sitting in an estuary along the River Tywee. And as it turns out, it was completely man-made. Thanks to Google Earth, experts were able to figure out that the structure was actually an ancient fishing tool. In 2009, Dr. Ziggy Otto, a marine environment lecturer at Pembrokeshire College, told The Telegraph, "We don't know exactly how old it is, but because it's now fully underwater, it's likely more than 1,000 years old, built at a time when sea levels were much lower." This old trap was designed to catch fish in the estuary. As the tide went out, fish would get stuck behind the structure, making it easy for fishermen to scoop them up with nets. Over the centuries, the trap has slowly turned into a reef, giving a boost to local marine life. And without Google Earth, this forgotten piece of history might never have been studied in full. Some Google Earth finds, on the other hand, aren't as historic, but they're still pretty amazing. Take Lake Taal in the Philippines. If you zoom in close enough, you'll see something rare, one of only 2 known examples of a third-order island. In simpler terms, that's an island, called Vulcan Point, on a lake, inside another island, which sits on a lake, all of it on the island of Luzon. It's a bit of a brain teaser. Interestingly, the only other known example of this weird island in an island setup was also spotted using satellite images. In 2012, Ken Jennings, yes, the longtime Jeopardy champ, discovered a bigger third-order island in Canada. If you want to check it out for yourself, type these coordinates into Google Earth. 69.793 degrees north, 108.241 degrees west. It doesn't have a name, but it's a real example of how strange and wonderful geography can be. Just because we've only found 2 of these doesn't mean that's all there is. Canada alone has more than 2 million lakes, and many have islands of their own. So if you've got the time and curiosity, you might just find another third-order island hiding in plain sight on Google Earth. While some discoveries made through Google Earth give us answers, others just leave us scratching our heads. Take what Angela Michael found in 2012, for example. While scanning satellite images of Egypt, she noticed 2 unusual shapes. She believed they might be lost pyramids. But at the time, Egypt's economic and political struggles meant archaeologists couldn't go and check them out, according to Live Science. Some supposed discoveries, though, have turned out to be nothing at all. One example came from Google Ocean, where a grid-like shape on the seafloor sparked curiosity. In 2009, a few people even thought it might be the lost city of Atlantis. But the truth behind it was much more ordinary. What looked like an enormous grid, stretching over 100 miles, was actually just a glitch caused by overlapping ocean survey data. The sonar technology used to scan the ocean floor often creates these kinds of odd patterns. So in 2012, Google released an updated map that corrected the image, removing the grid, and with it, any hope that Atlantis had finally been found. That said, there are still plenty of odd things you can see on Google Earth. If you plug in the coordinates 33.39, 6157 degrees north, 44.486, 926 degrees east, you'll find something strange in the landscape. There in Iran near the border with Turkey, you'll spot what looks like a bright red lake. For a while, no one knew why the water had that color, and it definitely sparked curiosity. Eventually, scientists discovered the reason. The lake, Lake Urmia, which used to be one of the biggest in the Middle East, had changed from green to red between April and July of 2016. It wasn't a mysterious event, though. The change was due to a kind of bacteria. Because the lake has very salty water, it's the perfect place for Dunaliella algae to grow, and when conditions are just right, this algae turns red. According to National Geographic, these color shifts may happen more often in the future. That's because as the lake keeps shrinking due to things like drought, climate change, and human use, the salt levels rise. And higher salt content helps trigger the algae's red pigment, which it uses to protect itself. Of course, not every strange image on Google Earth is made by nature. Some were made by people. For example, billionaire Sheikh Hamad bin Hamdan Al Nahyan once had his name carved into the sand of Al Futaisi Island. The letters were so massive they could actually be seen from space. But by 2012, the giant name had mysteriously disappeared from the satellite images, and no one really knows why. Meanwhile, the Florida discovery in August 2019 stands apart from all the other Google Earth finds. It wasn't an ancient ruin or a strange natural event, but it wasn't something light or forgettable either, like the Sheikh's name in the sand. This one was much more unsettling. It all began when the ex-husband of a woman living on Moon Bay Circle in Wellington, Florida, happened to be looking at satellite images of his old neighborhood. That's when he noticed something unusual in a pond behind one of the houses. As he zoomed in, the odd shape started to look like a car. So he texted his ex-wife and asked her to check it out. According to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, the woman then told her neighbor, Barry Fay, about the strange image. Fay agreed. It really did look like there was a vehicle sitting in the water right behind his house. Speaking to the Palm Beach Post in September 2019, Fay said he went outside and tried to spot the car from the edge of the pond, but he couldn't see anything from the ground. He'd been living in that house for over a year and had never noticed anything that made him think a car might be under the water. Still curious, he reached out to another neighbor who owned a drone. They flew it over the pond, and sure enough, the drone's camera picked up the shape of a car sitting at the bottom. Fay wasted no time. He called the local sheriff's office, and soon officers were at the scene. They had my whole backyard roped off with crime scene tape, Fay later told the Palm Beach Post. Police pulled the vehicle from the water and began their investigation. It was clear the car had been underwater for a long time. It had calcified over the years. It turned out to be a white Saturn SL, around 25 years old. But the truly chilling part was what they found inside. That's where the 22-year-old mystery started to unravel. Investigators looked inside the car and discovered what looked like human bones. A coroner later confirmed that the remains belonged to a man named William Molt. According to the sheriff's office, Molt had been working as a mortgage broker and had gone out to a nightclub one evening back in 1997. After that night, he vanished and was never seen again. After so many years, the mystery of William Molt's disappearance was finally close to being solved. And for Barry Fay, the whole situation came as a shock. He told the Palm Beach Post that he'd just assumed it was some old junk car and never imagined there could be a person inside. But by helping confirm the car's exact location, Fay had given investigators the lead they needed to finally close this long-standing case. According to the missing persons report filed back in 1997, Molt, who was 40 at the time, had gone out for the evening on November 7th. People who saw him that night said he seemed calm and steady, and nothing about his behavior suggested trouble. At 9:30 p.m., he called his wife to let her know he would be home soon. He left for home before midnight and then simply disappeared. Sadly, there's probably no way to know exactly what happened that night or how Molt and his car ended up in the pond. Still, investigators believe he may have lost control of the vehicle. In August 2019, a Florida police spokesperson told The Telegraph that the long-missing mortgage broker, last seen wearing a shirt, tie, and dress shoes, had essentially gone missing off the face of the earth. At the time Molt vanished, construction work was underway in the Wellington neighborhood as part of the Grand Isles at Solivita housing development. Even so, no one noticed the car, not in person and not on any satellite images, until 2019. Yet if someone had zoomed in on that spot during the 12 years before Faye's neighbor's ex-husband did, they might have spotted the vehicle themselves. The missing persons website, The Charlie Project, explained, amazingly, a vehicle had been plainly visible on a Google Earth satellite photo of the area since 2007, but apparently no one had noticed it. According to Science Alert, though, things weren't quite that simple. Google Earth updates its images regularly, and the car wasn't clearly visible until around 2017. Before that, the photos were apparently too blurry to confirm anything. Remarkably, Molt wasn't the only person found through technology many years after disappearing. In August 2019, the remains of a Canadian woman who had been missing since 1992 were also discovered inside a submerged car. Her case didn't involve Google Earth, though. This time, a teenage boy made the discovery while experimenting with his GPO. Max Warenka was on vacation with his family near Griffin Lake in British Columbia, Canada, when he spotted something unusual beneath the water and alerted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. What he thought looked like a car turned out to be just that. When authorities checked it out, they found Janet Ferris, a 69-year-old woman who had vanished 27 years earlier while driving to a wedding. Police believe she may have swerved to avoid an animal and accidentally driven into the lake. It's heartbreaking to realize that people like Molt and Ferris were missing for so long, with their families left without answers. But it also makes you stop and think, what else could still be out there hidden in plain sight on Google Earth? Molt's car was visible for years, yet no one noticed until someone happened to look closely. It just goes to show that with a few clicks, a mystery thought to be lost forever might suddenly come to light. If you found this story as incredible and moving as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life discoveries just like this one. You never know what story might be uncovered next.